Perush, what does it mean? We're continuing in the Maimer Boruch HaGomel. We're almost at the end. Perush, the Al Yadei, that by means of Ir Elokeinu, the city of God, which what is the city of God, Felix? The entire universe, the creation. Al Yadei Ir Elokeinu, by means of the city of God, by means of looking at the world, even the smallest aspect of the world. Nikar Gedolas Shem Havaya, you can see the greatness of the name of God. And this is without the Torah, just the creation. The Torah is a whole different dimension. We'll see, puts a whole different meaning into everything. But just to be excited about God, just look at the world. Look at the world. Okay, I'm very aware that there's a lot of scientists, it used to be all the scientists, that said exactly the opposite. The world is the best proof that God doesn't exist. Like I told you before, why would God make so many atoms? Obviously, it's just a natural process. Right? Of course, that's true. But we're saying no. We can support our faith in God by saying that one of the things God does is He creates the world. If it's true, it's really amazing. Really amazing. If it's not true, so it's no big deal. But if it is true, and the fact is that it is true, and that's the message of Jews to the world, then it's fantastic that we're living in an amazing, amazing world.
But doesn't God create molecules?
God is everything. 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 V'shem Elokim, the name of Elokim, More al Helam, shows on concealment, v'hester, and hiding. Shehu inyan tzimtzum. This is, who would believe it? This amazing, wonderful, fantastic, awesome world that God is creating that's really impressing us, this world conceals God. It conceals God. Ma she'enu nikar bo kavana panimius. Right? Why do all these scientists say that God doesn't exist? Because why? What's the purpose of all these blades of grass? What's the purpose? Don't you see? Be normal. What's the purpose of so many beetles and so many ants and so many? Obviously, there's no purpose. It's just things are. They just go. Right? And that's really true. That's really true. The world screams out, there's no purpose. Things just exist. Right? There's laws of nature, that the laws of nature are cold. Right? And lions eat zebras and whatever it is, and snakes eat opossums or whatever they do. Right? And it's just a cruel world, and that's just, just be part of it. Just be part of it. What do you see a purpose? Good, God creates everything. So it's a sign that God is not so good. Look what a world we have over here. So he says the world conceals God. That's where the word, in Hebrew, the word for world is hel, olam. It's for the word helim. On one hand, it reveals God a little bit because God is creating everything. It's very interesting. But on the other hand, the same world conceals God. Look at all the atoms. And you don't have to look so far in the atoms. Look at things that happened to us. Look what happened to the previous Rebbe. The previous Rebbe, the great holy man that he did Torah, he was put into prison and he was tortured over there. And they sentenced him to death. Can you imagine what it feels like? They're going to kill you in another minute. What type of a life that is? And it says he writes that he heard people being taken out of their cells and shot, screaming, no, and all of a sudden a shot and there's silence. And the people were so low. No, what did he do to deserve that? What did the Jewish people do to deserve the Holocaust? I mean, that's the world. The world really conceals God. Says the Rebbe that's the world conceals God's inner intention. Or kamo al derech mashal, for instance, ha'ose is a kli, a person who makes a vessel, makes a tool. Hine beterem shenigmro, before this is finished. See where we are? The last word is munachat. First word on the line is munachat. Od averim, before this vessel is put together. You have a television. He makes a television, make a motorcycle. He has a motorcycle, and there's all these little pieces. Right, there's pistons and there's whatever it is. There's the valves and there's a distributor. Or you have a television. You have all these tubes and you have all these wires. Before you put the whole thing together, you don't know what it's for. They tell the story that they wanted to do a good thing for the Aborigines. Who knows if this is true? But they told me the story that in Australia they gave the Aborigines over their tractors. And as soon as it ran out of gas or whatever the reason was, so they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know what to do with it. But it seems that these people have a tremendous sense of mechanics. That's what I heard. Who knows if this is, anyway. And so they took the things apart and they used the pistons like to crush potatoes and the other things for weapons. Who knows what? If a thing is all taken apart, you don't know what the real purpose of the thing is. Same thing with the world. You look at little parts of the world, you don't know what the real purpose is. Shel tochan hakli, what is the exact purpose? V'rak asher nigmara asiyat hakli, only after the vessel is finished, l'kol pratia, with all of its details, then you know what the vessel is. V'keinu b'chlolos inyan avodas habirurim. And so it is also with the world. When you're in the world and things happen, take that example, the Rebbe was put into prison. The Rebbe spoke and he said that before he was put into prison, he sensed something was going to happen. So he said a lot of Maimorim that explained this idea of the Baal Shem Tov, of Hashkacha Pratit, that everything happens, the smallest details, even things that aren't relevant to human beings. Everything is being directed by God. He said afterwards that if he hadn't thought about that all the time, he wouldn't have been able to survive because he had to think everything is happening is God wanting. It was so obvious that everything that was happening had nothing to do with God, nothing to do with good. It was just pure evil nature of people, right? And these people thought they were the ultimate good. He said if a person wasn't thinking, if a person has in his mind, this is coming from God. Now what am I supposed to do? What is it demanding from me? Right? Instead of asking, why is it happening? I would say, what for? What am I supposed to do? For instance, it's very amazing. Why are the Jews scattered around? Like it says, the four directions of heaven, I scattered you out. And the Jewish people, they go in exile, me'ir le'ir, from city to city, batil tul kasheh. Very difficult. The Jews were expelled. They were expelled from England. They were expelled from France. The Jews were expelled from Spain, from Portugal. They were expelled from Italy. In Russia, they were moved from place to place. Medina to Medina, from country to country. Besibos misibos shonos, with all sorts of crazy reasons. The Jews had to run away and leave. Ube'em sibos ke'elu she'em shel tsar v'yasurim. And sometimes Jews have to run away because of pain. The Inquisition. Crusades. Who knows how many Jews they killed? There was one of the Crusades that all the Crusaders came down to make war against the Muslims, and they stopped off in Constantinople or something where there were Jews. They killed the Jews. V'derech Rishoyim Tzalacha. Okay, look, we're almost finished. Here, look, there's the last word on the line is Tzalacha. We see that in the world, the way of the wicked succeeds. And the Rebbe knew what he was talking about. This is 1942 that the Rebbe gave this. He knew, it says, well, who is a Rebbe? A Rebbe is supposed to be a person that feels the pain of every Jew. So you can imagine the pain of every Jew. This is right in the Holocaust of the Holocaust, 1942. People were being shipped en masse, and the whole world didn't care at all. Jews were being shipped from all over into the gassed and killed and murdered and shot, and the way of the evil succeeds. Really, God did charity with the Jews. Shepazran, that He scattered them, lebein almost among the nations. B'medina shonos, in different countries. What's so amazing about it? Last line, second to the last line. The kasher b'medina achas, gozer and gazera, that when in one country they make a decree, al inyani Torah b'mitzvahs, ba acheim, their friends in another country, ba'azram, and help them. Shalotish kachach Torah Yisrael, the Torah should not be forgotten. While Hitler was killing Jews in Poland and this, there were Jews in Iraq, in Morocco, in these places that had not yet begun any Holocaust, right? Exactly why there wasn't a Holocaust in these Arab countries, I think it's because of the great Tzaddikim that they had there, the holy men, and that the people really believed in the Tzaddikim. It wasn't like the Ashkenazic Jews, that they hated the Tzaddikim, they hated the Torah, and by the Sephardic Jews there was no such thing, until they came to the land of Israel, the state of Israel. Until they came here, there was no such thing as a Yemenite or a whatchamacallit that hated, right? I guess there was some of them in France, the French influence, and in the English influence a little bit in Iraq. But generally speaking, it wasn't such a thing. So when Jews are being suffered and forced in one place to leave the Torah, there's always another place where they keep it.
Is this related to the idea of politics?
No, not. V'zeu gefen mimitzrayim tasil. That's what it means that a grapevine was moved out of Egypt. The Jewish people are scattered around the world in order to support one another. V'chol hatzlacha hi b'hakdamas nasa v'nishma. The only success of the Jews comes by their attitude of we will do and we will understand. The success of the Jews comes not from their learning Torah. The success of the Jews, the secret of Judaism, comes from their stubbornness of doing what God wants before understanding, not asking for understanding. There are some people that say, no, the whole essence of Judaism is understanding. You sit, you learn. We're a great nation because of our understanding. We learn Torah. Says the Rebbe, that's not what makes us a great nation. It's true, we have the Torah. The Torah is our greatness. Every Jew must learn the Torah, and every Jew must learn all the Torah. But what has kept the Jewish people going is their self-sacrifice above understanding. Because as soon as a person learns Torah and he goes according to his understanding, as soon as bad things happen to him, all of a sudden the communists come in and they start throwing people who learn Torah into jail and killing them. Then off goes the beard, away goes the tzitzis, take off the kippah. We're like everybody else. We see it's not working. Then I become the main thing. The main thing is doing and then understanding. Hainu, the kol echad ve'echad miYisrael, not on the right page. The kol echad ve'echad miYisrael, that each and every Jew Tzorich Ladat has to know Ki henenu avdei Hashem, that we are servants of God. Now the Rebbe is saying this from the city where he was sent into exile. Right? He was totally under the power of the Russian government, of the communist government. He's saying you have to know, Jewish people, that we are the essence, we are the servants of God. Umi Hashem mitzadei gaver konenu. And from God, the steps of man, just 2 more minutes. From God, the steps of man are determined. Hashem mitzadei gaver konenu. That God determines the steps of man. What does that mean? Is that everything that happens to you is directed by God. Everything that happens. And the question is, what am I supposed to do about it? God is giving you power to either ignore it, to overcome it, to transform it. But something good must come out of everything. The kol masha da avid rachmana, and everything that God does, l'tav avid, He does for the good. Now the Rebbe was saying this while his Chassidim were being killed, and while he was also, in another minute they could kill him. But the principle is, think good and it will be good. You can change the world. V'aleinu limsor nafsheinu. We have to even be willing to give our lives al Torah v'mitzvahs, for Torah and the commandments. V'lo litpa'el, and not to be afraid, not to be affected, not to be influenced kalal at all, mi'amonim v'ma'akvim, from any limitations and any obstacles. V'la'avod avotenu, and to serve, do our work serving God, b'kiyum Torah v'mitzvahs, and mesirut nefesh, with mesirut nefesh. What does mesirut nefesh mean? Self-sacrifice. And there's not to think, self-sacrifice means not to think about yourself. V'nikaveh, and we should hope for God, ki hu yisbarech, that God yigalenu will redeem us and give us freedom. Be'geula shlema, by means of Mashiach, Goel Tzedek, b'mei Rabbi Yameinu, and that's what happened. There's no more communism today. Communism doesn't exist. And the previous Rebbe got out, and Chabad exists, Judaism exists. The communists never would dream it. Hitler would never have dreamed it. You know, Hitler made a museum. You ever heard of this? He made a museum. Well, you were there?
No, I got
Hitler made a Jewish museum because he thought he was going to wipe out all the Jews in the world. And he made a museum. He got Jewish artifacts together, Sefer Torahs and all sorts of other things. He had it made because he was sure he was going to wipe out Judaism everywhere. He was positive. And he came pretty close because Jews were being wiped out by him over there. Communist Russia was wiping them out over there. In America, freedom was wiping them out. Right? Jews were leaving Judaism by droves, intermarrying. There was no, right? But the Rebbe said self-sacrifice is our weapon. And that was the weapon of the previous Rebbe. And by means of that, he went to America. And even the other religious Jews didn't like him. They didn't like him. They said, they regretted. They said, you're sticking out. You're making trouble for us. You know, we're in our safety zone. Don't rock the boat. And he said, no way. We have to not worry about ourselves. Stop thinking about yourself. Self-sacrifice. Don't think about yourself. Think about other Jews. Forget about your Torah learning. Forget about everything. Go and help another Jew. Teach another Jew.
This happened in World War II?
World War II, sure. And so it is. That's what we see is happening today. Judaism is waking up and everybody is waking up other Jews. All the others. Now it's a big, thank God. Good. Next mimer, this is the next mimer that the Rebbe said, which is in Yud Beis Tammuz, when they announced him that he was totally free, which in fact he wasn't really totally free, but we'll talk about that later. Tomorrow.